Hi, this is Bill Foote, and this is Informing Decisions. What we're going to do right now is a simple data wrangling and report structure for some data that I just found. It's over here on the left. It's in a thing called Sheet 1. Oh my gosh, it's called Book Number 2. I hope we don't lose this, but it's regions, products, time, looks like quarter, QTR. There's a count, I guess that's the number of units, and price. And the requirement that was handed to me is rate a report by region for each product by each quarter, the revenue. Now we know revenue is price times count here. That's what we're going to define it as. This is a good practice, certainly in Unit 1 or Unit 2. We'll put it under Unit 1 for the moment of Chapter 1 in the book. Unit 1 in the playlist that this will end up in on forming decisions on my YouTube channel. Okay, how are we going to do this? Well, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the data. And before we even do that, we're going to do named ranges. Okay, if I can get this thing to work. There we go. Do some named ranges. That was Shift Control right arrow, down arrow. And do formulas. I'm going to create from selection. The selection has a top and left row categories. I'm going to use just the top row. I'm going to say OK. And to be sure that we have those names up there, we do, and just look at product. There's product. Okay, so that's named ranges, and now we have variable values for each and every one of those arrays. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to again select this entire array, this table, and we could also do this with tables, but my fingers are much more used to this, and go to the data ribbon, filter, and at the very top of this we'll see these pull downs. So we can see how many, oh, there are 4. There are 4 regions. How many products? Looks like 6 products. Okay, good. 4 regions. I'm just going to write this down so I can remember it. 6 products. How many times? Looks like we just have 4 quarters in a particular we do. Okay. And I'm doing this because I want to see if there are any missing values. I want to see if there are any blanks, anything odd. And in the count, looks like all numbers. Yeah, no blanks there either. So it's pretty clean so far. And price, same thing. Just gonna just meander through the data quickly like this and get a feel for the sizes and so on. Yeah, quite a range of prices. I don't even know what the product is yet. Okay, it's probably large panel monitors that for touch screens if you like to put in a analytics lab. Okay, so we've done that. So the first thing we did was name ranges. Second thing we did was we filtered it just to look at it and find out how many. Now the number of count, we don't care. There's and prices. There's 4 quarters. The very next thing I want to do is, because these are all categories, we have 4 regions, 6 products, 4 quarters. We're going to create some sort of, let me block it out here, some sort of table. I'm just going to put it right here. Make a little wireframe. That's going to be the selection of the region. I'm going to do a select region. 2, 3, 4. Right now, I'm just going to put outside borders there. So we're going to deposit the quarters. and the 4 quarters, and 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 products, and the revenue will be deposited in the cross between. So it's basically an interjoint of the two, um, to get at the revenue. Uh, uh, SQL can do this very, very quickly. You're going to see why people do use SQL and other computing languages instead of Excel. But we're going to do this Excel, and we'll be able to create a table of revenues, which is what the report is, by product on the left, across on the top, order, and we will allow the user to select the region. Make sure you check with the user, the client, that that's what they're interested in. And I have, and that's what they'd like to see. Okay, so that's what we're going to create there. And we'll just call this the report. Okay, we'll call sheet 1 data. Everything's modularized here. And to the extent possible, we're not going to hard code anything. But to that end, I'm going to create another sheet, which is, in spreadsheets, these are always called controls. What they actually are lists of usually immutable objects, or things that can change upon direct usage by a consumer of this data. Somebody's going to interact with it. We can create dynamic lists here as well. But I'm going to pop this down here. I need a region name. I need a product. If I can spell this properly. Name. I need a set of names there. I need a time name. Not hame. We need name. Okay, let's see if we got these right. Just expand these a little bit. Looking at a little clarity here. Okay, good. And I'll put a little format around here so I can see them easily, so you can see them easily as well. Certainly the client will want to see it. No overlaps. Okay, full columns there. Now, we know we have 4 regions. And if we just count out 2, 3, 4, we can put an array function here, which in Winston, I think it's like chapter 99 or something. And the array function is called unique. Find all of the unique values. It'll do it in alphabetical order in the array that we've named region. Okay, so in order to do an array function, you have to give it a sufficient number of cells selected, or else you'll get a spill. If you give too few, you will get a spill error. And here we're going to do equals unique. Check that out. Open parentheses. And just type in region. You see it comes right up because we've named the range. Now, don't press anything yet. With your finger on Shift, Control, Enter, you see it automatically puts in the unique values. Again, SQL does this immediately, as does R and Python and DB2 and the whole 9 yards of them. But this is how we do it in Excel. And this keeps the integrity of the data. These categories are unique to this data. We don't have to guess at what they are. We saw what they are with the filter, and now we're going to make use of that fact. Okay, so that's one list. Now the product name had 6, 2, 3, 5, 6, and we do a unique open parentheses, capital P, product. Yes, that comes right up. Those parentheses, Shift, Control, enter. And there are all of our products. No under or overspilling here. No under or overflow with that. It found those 6. Those are the correct 6 because we already know that from the filtering. And quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the selection. You see it's selected. And we type in equals unique and time, capital T, M, E, close parentheses, shift, control, enter. And that's how we enter arrays. And now we have that. Okay. So we have unique values all the way through. You just see that's the curly brackets defines this all the way down. Okay, same here. All 6 of those and all 4 of those. Next, we're going to name each one of these. Okay, this is going to be named region name, and you're going to find this is incredibly useful for the very last piece of this analysis, which is making the revenue report itself. So we're going to call this formulas, create from selection. It's looking at the top row for the name. That's done. Oh, there are other ways of doing this, but I want to show you what's underneath the hood. Top row again. Notice I'm selecting it. I'm in the formula ribbon, create from selection, top row. Okay. All right. So now we have these. Let's check over here in the cell box. We have count, product name. Yep. Okay. Time goes over here. Okay. So we can locate any of these. This is like a useful go-to thing. All right, fine. All right. Now, in the report, in the top left corner, we're going to put the region name here. What we want is a pull down list. And this is a data validation technique. We don't want any data in here. We want a very particular piece of data in here, the choice by the user of a region. So how do we do that? We put our in our report in the top left corner, put the cursor. We go to data and we hunt and peck in this thing. I happen to know where it is. Here, data validation. It's over here under data tools. And up comes a dialog box. Right now, any value at all is legal there. We want a list. Okay. And the source of the list is equals region name, not product name. Now, Excel hasn't learned to be sensitive to our names. Don't know why. Very interesting. But this particular, they call this a control that we're going to be inserting here, controls the value that can go in there. Something called ActiveX controls. It's much more feature rich. This one is feature thin, I would say. And let's see if this works. If I type this incorrect, okay, it looks correct. Say okay. And now you see the pull down box wedge over here. East, north. Okay. So we've got that part done. And now for these 4 values, we're going to put another array in, the array associated with time name. So again, select those 4 for the 4 quarters equals, let's use the transpose array function, the transpose of the time name. And again, to put those values in, the sequence of keys is shift, control, enter, and all 4 pop in there. properly. Okay, and you see it's completely documented. We know where they're coming from. Now the same down here, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated because I need to put a there is another way to do this, but this is the way that we originally did it. Now again, it's under the hood. You're going to put two transpose. You're going to do the transpose of the transpose. Now you notice what the transpose does. It exchanges column for row values. Here we're going to create row values and then transpose it again back to column values. Don't worry, Excel won't mind us doing that. So this will be equal to transpose, open parentheses, of the transpose, open parentheses, of product name, close parentheses, shift control enter. And now we have all of the unique product values in here. Okay, it's squaring up pretty well. A little tidying here is not a bad idea. We're going to center the top. This will save you some time later on. Put them all in the middle in case there's something like that. We're going to bold that. Okay, that's the region name. And we're going to right justify that. Okay, just when you thought you've had enough to do. Yes. Okay, now there are two parts to a revenue. The price, and the revenue. The revenue, we're going to count the number of units. In the price, we want to pull an amount of units from this row, Lancaster, and that column, QTR1, from our original piece of data. So in the data, I mean, just look at this. For a Lancaster, okay, we want to pull 60103, okay, and 4079 for a particular quarter. Okay, you see the prices are going to be unique for the quarter. And you see also that we have a unique unit value for the quarter. And guess what we're going to use for that? Think about it for a second. Now, there are many ways to do this. You can use count ifs, sum ifs to get unique values. But I think the safest and the cleanest way is to use index and match. But we need to apply a database trick, if you will, because databases depend upon keys, and we need to have a unique key for each one of these unique values of count and price in this 6x4 24 cell matrix of price times count, or revenue, what we'll call revenue here. So in order to do this, we create a key. Go back to the data. Over here in G, just alongside, this is derived data. This is what we call a flattening of the database. We have a relational database to the left here, actually, and we're going to flatten it a little bit. We're going to combine two categories, product and time. We're going to call it the key. Okay, and then we're just going to concatenate product name with an ampersand and the time name. And that will be a unique name for that count and that price. copy and paste it all the way down. The Mac does this more intelligently than the PC these days. And there we go. Now we have unique names, and unique names create a key for us. And guess what we're going to do after we format it, of course? We're going to make key a named range. Select, create from selection, top row, and we can see that we now have yet another named range. Okay, there's some all the way to the bottom. I usually like to check this. And 97, good. All for 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters, all 6 in the West. Okay, good. So I'm just checking. And now I'm going to write the unique price for this. Watch how we're going to do this. Open the formula box here. It's a little bit easier to see. Equals index. What are we indexing? We're going to look for the price that matches the row associated with the key value. What's the key value? It is Lancaster. Make sure that you put a $sign with that row number 3, because we're going to copy and paste this formula all over the table, and we don't want that 3 to change on not 3. Sorry, you don't want that. You don't want that to get mixed up. We don't want that column to change as we roll this around. Now we're just going to do just the opposite with the quarters, ampersand, choose quarter 1. And this one, we want to hold the rows constant. Okay, we want to find that value in key. See, it comes right up. And we want an exact, we put the 0 in there for an exact match. Close parentheses, close parentheses. Press enter, see what we come up with. $612 and some odd cents. Let's see if that's the correct number. Always test it. Yep. These are, there we go. That's the exact number. Okay. So why is it that? These are probably average prices of some sort across all of these counts, which means there's probably gross price, net price involved, which would have been nice to know here what the markup markdown was due to volume and price and other discounts that might be involved. Okay. So we have price. Now put a space here. It's easier to do this. Times quantity. It's going to be basically the same idea. It's simple. Except for looking across count, and we're seeing what row that is on for this, for Lancaster. Sure you hold the column absolute, ampersand, quarter, hold the row absolute. We want to look this value up. This value we've created in key. Here it is. We want an exact match. And let's see what we come up with. Okay. We 247, 2,474,000, 2,474,023, whatever the units are. And we don't even know what, probably dollars, but it might not be, it might be pounds. Okay, let's just check that number here. Just quick check. price times quantity, which is count, and we get exactly the same number. Okay, so we check that. So reasonably sure this is going to be correct. Okay, now the other way we could have done this is simply taken this number and this number, multiplied it together all the way down, and looked up this key. Absolutely right. I just like writing index match all the time. And then that would be one index match. That's probably the cheapest computational approach. Try that. But we seem to go the long way around the block here. And just copy, paste this down. Okay. And look what we have. I'm going to format this a little better. No border. And you're going to take the border off and then put the outside border on. And there we go. Now, what we might do is divide this by 1,000 or by 100,000 to scale it. That's a very useful thing to do. We might also find over here in the margin the average and the mean absolute deviation. Look those up. Pretty easy to put in here and give the client a little extra, just a little extra, not much. The average or the mean is that. And the mean absolute deviation is the average, equals average deviation. And that's the mean absolute deviation in Excel for the same range. There we go. And we can do the same over here. Average. This is like watching the paint dry and the grass grow. But just to make a little bit more complete report here. Okay. And over here, we might put the average and the mean absolute deviation, the gross numbers over here. Okay. We can perhaps think a little bit about how we want to present this. Yeah. Probably cells like this. And probably formatting the numbers as well. It's average revenue. Mean absolute deviation, which you need to define. Mad people don't want to get mad. And there we go. Now, for future work, you might want to define this data, this derived data, as another table, which we could do in another round of this work that we've been on to for the last several minutes. But basically, you have a report here, and does it work? Well, let's see. Test it. South. West. Oh, it's all the same. What else do we need to do? We need to somehow put in this criterion for south. I'm wondering what it's going for. It's probably going across all regions right now. So we only need the one region. Now that's interesting. How do you think we might do that? We might expand the key. That might be the easiest way to do it. Let's check that out. So if we expand the key, let's put a region in front of this. Now we have East Lancaster quarter 1. And now we have that. We should have a reference error over here. Yep, NA, can't find it at all. Why? Because we don't have this choice here. Now it's a unique choice for this. I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call this name region choice. Because I've got an idea about what to do with this sometime. We don't need that. We need to do a defined name. Region choice. Say, okay. So region choice happens to be south right now. And every time you pull up a different list, region choice now has a new value. So it's a bit dynamic. That's kind of interesting. And what do we need to change in our formulas here? We need to put the right value region choice strapped together with B3, strapped together with C2. We don't have to worry about absolute or relative reference. It's automatically an absolute reference. And we need to do the same over here. So that's the value it's looking up in that great big table. Strap it on there. That's what the ampersand does. And you see, we will get the correct value. And everything will change. Once again, let's format this, and this will be the last operation we'll do today. Outside borders only. Never like general anything. And let's use number. And we're not going to worry about pennies on this one. I'm going to decrease that. Okay, now we have something of a report that looks halfway decent. Minor little things here. But these details are important. Notice I can see all of the labels. This cannot go out the door unless all of the labels are visible in the cells. All the numbers are visible in the cells. There's no spillover from one cell to the other. Cells are roughly the same size. And we're following some sort of convention here on the top with center justification, and here on the left with right justification. And now let's just check this. And it changes. So that's the report. I think the only other thing we could do is put the average here and the mean absolute deviation there to get an idea of the range of things. This is a visualization. People like tables. It might be easier to see this in some sort of plot, 3D plot, which can be often very confusing. Or a plot of 8 values are the values greater than the average. Okay, something like that, or less than the averager. Okay, just to give you some sort of notion of how variable everything is here in this report, this multidimensional report. Anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. And as you do this, make sure you have somebody else you want to do this with. This could be pretty interesting. And encourage each other. Yes, encourage each other daily while it is still today. And with that, I'm going to bid you farewell and thank you very much for your kind attention.